Valley of the Shadow never lets go.
A man stumbles from the Amazon, eyes hollow, body scarred, clicking like a beast. Ethan Harper, missing for 6 years, is back, but he's not human anymore. What devoured his team in the Shadow Valley? A madman? A curse? Or something older, watching from the dark? This tale, woven from jungle myths for education and thrills, isn't real, but its terror will grip you. Every click, every shadow, pulls you deeper into a mystery that doesn't let go. Stick around to uncover the truth behind the eyes that see everything. You won't look at the jungle the same again. Part 1. The Man on the Dirt Road. The sun was bleeding red over the horizon, painting the dirt road outside Manaus, Brazil, in a glow that made the dust look like rust. A beat-up logging truck roared along, kicking up clouds that choked the air. The driver, a wiry guy named Carlos, was halfway through a cigarette, muttering about late deliveries, when something stumbled out of the jungle. He slammed the brakes, tires screeching, and the truck fishtailed, nearly tipping into the ditch. "Holy shit," Carlos yelled, leaning out the window. "What the hell is that?" A man stood in the middle of the road, swaying like a scarecrow in a storm. He was skin and bones, his clothes nothing but rags, clinging to his frame like wet paper. His face was a mess of dirt, matted beard, and scars that crisscrossed his skin like a roadmap to hell. His eyes were the worst Parthalo, black, like they'd seen things no human should. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at the truck's headlights as if they were alien suns. Carlos jumped out, heart pounding, and waved his arms. "Hey, buddy, you okay? You lost or something?" No answer. Just that empty stare. The guy's hands twitched, and then came the sound, a low, guttural click, like a bird call from deep in the jungle. It sent a shiver down Carlos's spine. "Jesus Christ, you're creeping me out, man." He grabbed his radio, voice shaking. "Bass, this is Carlos. Got a guy on the road. Looks half dead. Send someone quick, yeah?" Within 20 minutes, a police jeep rolled up, lights flashing. 2 cops, one a stocky Brazilian named Paulo, the other a rookie who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, stepped out. Paulo shone a flashlight on the man, who didn't even flinch. "What's your name, amigo?" Paulo asked, switching to English when he saw the guy's pale skin under the grime. No response. Just another click, sharp and unnatural, like a warning from the forest itself. "Probably some drunk gringo," the rookie muttered. "Or high as a kite. Look at him." Paulo crouched, peering at the man's wrists. Faint, rope-like scars circled them, old but deep. "These ain't from partying," he said, voice low. "This guy's been through something bad. Real bad." They loaded him into the jeep, the man limp as a rag doll, and hauled him to a hospital in Manaus. The emergency room was chaos, nurses shouting, a kid crying in the corner, the smell of antiseptic thick enough to choke on. A young intern, Anna, took one look at the guy and froze. His skeletal frame, the scars, the way his fingers kept twitching like he was still in the jungle, it hit her like a gut punch. She'd seen plenty of rough cases, but this guy was different. He wasn't just broken, he was empty. "Get him to a bed," Anna snapped, shoving past a nurse, "and call psych. This guy's not just dehydrated." As they cleaned him up, Anna noticed more scars, whip marks on his back, ring-shaped burns on his ankles, like he'd been chained for years. His joints creaked like an old man's, though he couldn't be older than 30. His hair was a tangled mess, caked with dirt and something that looked like dried blood. When they drew blood for tests, he didn't even wince, just kept making that click sound, low and rhythmic, like a signal to something unseen. "What's with that noise?" A nurse, Maria, whispered. She was Yanomami, born in a village not far from the Amazon's heart, and her eyes were wide with something like fear. "That's not normal. My grandmother used to talk about sounds like that, clicks from the forest, from places where the spirits are trapped." Anna frowned, jotting notes. "Spirits? Come on, Maria. He's just messed up. Probably been out there too long." Maria shook her head, crossing her arms. "You don't get it. That sound, it's not human. It's from the dark places, where the eyes watch." Anna ignored her, but the words stuck. She'd grown up in Sao Paulo, far from the jungle's myths, but something about Maria's tone made her skin crawl. They ran test blood work, x-rays, the works. The results were bizarre. No modern food in his system, just traces of roots, insects, and raw meat. No soap, no shampoo, no chemicals at all. His teeth were yellowed, unbrushed for years. It was like he'd been ripped out of civilization and dropped into the Stone Age. By morning, the hospital was buzzing with rumors. A cop had leaked the story to a local reporter, and now half the staff was whispering about the ghost man in room 12. Anna, bleary-eyed from a double shift, pulled up missing persons records on her laptop. She'd always been into true crime podcasts, her guilty pleasure, and something about this guy nagged at her. She scrolled through files, heart racing, until she found it. A case from 2017. 5 American explorers vanished in the Amazon while hunting some lost temple. Ethan Harper, 25, documentary filmmaker, was one of them. The photo showed a smiling guy with bright eyes, nothing like the hollow shell in the bed. Holy crap, Anna muttered, zooming in. The jawline, the cheekbone sit was him, older, broken, but definitely him. She grabbed Maria. Look at this. Ethan Harper, missing since 2017. It's gotta be him. Maria glanced at the screen, then at Ethan, who was rocking back and forth, clicking softly. If that's him, what the hell happened out there? She said. 6 years in the Amazon? Nobody comes back like that. Anna called the police, who sent the case to an international database. A DNA test confirmed it. 100% match. Ethan Harper, presumed dead, was alive. But alive wasn't the right word. He was a husk, a ghost in human skin, his mind locked behind those empty eyes. The hospital tried everything English, Portuguese, even playing music to jog his memory. Nothing worked. He just sat there, clicking, staring at walls like he could see through them. Word spread fast. By noon, a journalist showed up, Sarah Miller, a freelancer from New York, with a reputation for chasing wild stories. She'd covered the 2017 disappearance for a magazine, and it had haunted her ever since. She barged into the ER, all sharp elbows and sharper questions. I need to see him, she told Anna, flashing a press badge. Ethan Harper, right? I knew those kids. They weren't amateurs. Something big went down. Anna hesitated. He's not talking, Sarah. He's not right. You won't get anything out of him. Let me try, Sarah said, her voice hard. I've been waiting 6 years for answers. They let her in, but Ethan didn't react to her questions. Sarah showed him a photo of his old team, Liam, Chloe, Ben, Maya, all smiling in a bar in Seattle before the trip. His eyes flicked to the picture, and for a split second, something changed. His breathing hitched, his hands clenched, and then click, click, click louder, faster, like a machine gun. He lurched forward, knocking the photo to the floor, and started scratching at the wall, his nails leaving faint marks. Whoa, whoa, calm down, Sarah yelled, grabbing his arm. He froze, staring at her like she was a stranger, then slumped back, the clicking slowing to a dull rhythm. Anna pulled Sarah aside. I told you, he's gone. Whatever happened out there, it broke him. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Broke him, sure. But he's still got something in there. Those clicks, those scars, they're clues. I'm not letting this go. Over the next few days, the hospital became a circus. Doctors ran more tests, finding old whip marks, rope burns, and joints so worn they looked like they belonged to an 80-year-old. A psychologist diagnosed severe dissociative amnesia. Ethan didn't just forget the last 6 years. He didn't know who he was. He didn't recognize his own name, his reflection, nothing. At night, Maria swore she heard him make sounds like a toucan's call, sharp and eerie, echoing in the quiet ward. Sarah dug deeper, pulling strings to get Ethan's hair and nail samples analyzed. The results were chilling. Pollen from a rare orchid, only found above 2,000 feet in the Amazon, and spores from a fern that grew in isolated valleys. It pinned him to a specific region near the Jirua River, a place even the locals avoided. Sarah tracked down a Yanomami elder in Manaus, a wiry man named Tupi, who listened to a recording of Ethan's clicks and went pale. "That's not a man's voice," Tupi said, his English halting. "That's the sound of the shadow eyes. The old ones, from the valley where spirits are trapped. My people don't go there. It eats souls." Sarah scoffed, but her gut twisted. "Spirits? Come on, Tupi. He's been out there 6 years. He's just messed up." Tupi shook his head, clutching a pendant carved with 2 staring eyes. "You don't understand. The shadow eyes see everything. They take your name, your heart, and leave you empty." Back at the hospital, Anna tried art therapy, giving Ethan paper and charcoal. He ignored it for days. Then one morning, he grabbed the charcoal and started scribbling. At first, it was just lines, chaotic and jagged. But slowly, a shape emerged, a river splitting in 2, a mountain with a slanted peak, and in the center, a big, shaky X. It was a map, crude but deliberate, like something clawed out of his broken mind. "That's it," Sarah said, staring at the drawing. "That's where he was. That's where they all were." Anna sent the map to a team of analysts, who cross-referenced it with satellite images. It matched a remote valley near the Jirua, a place so deep in the Amazon it was practically a black hole. No roads, no villages, just endless green. The locals called it the Shadow Valley, a name that made Maria cross herself and mutter a prayer. Sarah pushed for a new expedition, but the Brazilian authorities were skeptical. "We searched for those kids in 2017, a police chief told her. "Cost us a fortune and a dozen men. That valley's a death trap, swamps, jaguars, and God knows what else." "I don't care," Sarah snapped. "Ethan came out of there. The answers are in that valley, and I'm getting them, with or without you." That night, Anna stayed late, watching Ethan through the observation window. He was rocking again, clicking softly, his eyes fixed on the ceiling. She pulled out the old photo of his team, the one that had set him off before. She didn't know why she did it, maybe instinct, maybe desperation. She slipped into his room and held up the picture, her voice soft. "Ethan, look, these were your friends. Liam, Chloe, Ben, Maya. Remember them?" His head snapped toward her, and for a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of recognition. Then his face twisted, his mouth opened, and a scream tore out, not human, not animal, but something else, a sound that made the lights flicker and the air feel heavy. He lunged, knocking the photo from her hand, and started clawing at the floor, his fingers tracing the same shape over and over, 2 circles, like eyes, staring up from the tiles. Anna stumbled back, heart hammering, as nurses rushed in. Ethan collapsed, convulsing, his clicks turning to whimpers. Maria grabbed Anna's arm, her voice shaking. "I told you, Anna. That's not Ethan anymore. That's the valley. It's still in him." Sarah burst in, alerted by the commotion. She saw the eyes scratched into the floor and froze. "What the hell is that?" she whispered. Anna's voice was barely audible. "I don't know. But whatever happened to him out there, it's not over." Part 2. Into the heart of the Amazon. Sarah Miller sat in her cramped hotel room in Manaus, the air thick with humidity that made her laptop feel like it was sweating. The screen glowed with a video file, timestamped spring 2017, labeled Harper Expedition Prep. It was one of the few things Ethan's family had sent her after she begged for anything that might explain what happened to him. The footage was grainy, shot on a cheap camera, but it was gold, a window into the 5 Americans who vanished into the Amazon 6 years ago. Sarah hit play, her heart pounding like a drum. The video opened in a dive bar in Seattle, all sticky floors and neon signs buzzing in the background. 5 faces crowded the frame, laughing, clinking beer bottles. Ethan Harper, the filmmaker, was behind the camera, his voice bright and cocky. "All right, team, day 1 of prep for the adventure of a lifetime. Tell the world who you are." First up was Liam Carter, 35, a former Marine with a jaw like a brick and eyes that didn't blink. "Liam, logistics and muscle," he said, flexing a bicep with a grin. "If we get lost, I'll carry you all out." His voice had that drill sergeant edge, the kind that made you feel safe until you realized he was all business. Next was Chloe Nguyen, 28, a doctor with a first aid kit slung over her shoulder like a badge of honor. "Chloe, medic," she said, rolling her eyes at Liam's flexing. "Here to make sure these idiots don't die of snake bites or stupidity." Her smile was tight, like she was already worried about what was coming. Ben Torres, 30, the tech guy, waved awkwardly. "Ben, your gadget guru. Got GPS, drones, satellite phones, the works." He adjusted his glasses, clearly more comfortable with machines than people. Sarah noticed his eyes flick toward the woman next to him, a quick, shy glance. That woman was Maya Lopez, 27, the historian who dreamed up this whole trip. Her dark hair was pulled back, and her eyes sparkled with obsession. "Maya, resident nerd," she said, holding up an old map, yellowed and creased. "This is our ticket to a lost temple, older than the Incas, hidden in the Amazon. We're gonna make history." Her voice was electric, like she could already see the ruins in her head. Ethan's voice cut in, teasing, "And I'm Ethan Harper, the genius behind the lens. You're welcome for immortalizing this madness." The camera swung to show his reflection in a Bar Marora young guy, 25, with a cocky grin hiding something broken. Sarah knew his story. His kid brother died in a car wreck 2 years earlier, and Ethan had been running from that grief ever since. The video cut to their prep sessions in a rented cabin outside Seattle. Gear was spread across a table, water filters, freeze-dried food for 3 weeks, signal flares, a satellite phone with extra batteries. Liam was barking orders, checking ropes and machetes. "This ain't a camping trip, people," he said, tossing a pack to Ben. "The Amazon's a beast. One wrong step, and it'll chew you up and spit you out." Chloe frowned, sorting medical supplies. "I've got anti-venom, antibiotics, everything." "But, Liam, what if we run into something worse than snakes? Like malaria? Or those flesh-eating bacteria?" "Relax, Doc," Liam said, smirking. "You watch too many horror movies. Stick with me, and you'll be fine." Maya wasn't listening, her nose buried in that old Spanish map from the 1600s. "This temple's real," she muttered, tracing a line with her finger. "The conquistadors wrote about Ida Place, where the jungle hides its secrets. They called it the Shrine of the Shadow Eyes." Ethan zoomed in on her. "Shadow Eyes? Sounds like a bad horror flick. You sure we're not chasing ghosts?" Maya shot him a look. "Laugh all you want, Ethan. This is bigger than anything we've ever done. It's not just a temple, it's a whole civilization nobody's touched." Ben leaned over, his voice low. "Maya, you're obsessed. That map's half guesses. What if we're hiking 50 miles through hell for nothing?" She spun on him, eyes blazing. "It's not nothing. The Yanomami told stories about this place, a valley where the spirits watch. I'm not giving up." Sarah paused the video, her pulse racing. Maya's intensity was contagious, but it also screamed trouble. Obsession like that could blind you, and in the Amazon, that was a death sentence. She hit play again, and the footage jumped to Manaus, where the team met their guide. Wow, a Yanomami man in his 40s, lean and quiet, with a pendant carved with 2 staring eyes hanging around his neck. "I'll take you as far as the last village," Joao said, his English clipped. "But not into the Shadow Valley. My people don't go there. The eyes watch, and they don't forgive." Liam snorted, slapping Joao's shoulder. "Come on, man. We've got GPS and guns. No spooky eyes are gonna stop us." Joao's face didn't change, but his hand tightened on the pendant. "You don't understand. The valley takes what it wants. If you see the eyes, don't look too long." The video shifted to their first day in the Amazon, the team trekking through a green hell where the air was thick as soup and the temperature hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Ethan's camera caught the jungle's brutality, vines that snagged like claws, mosquitoes that swarmed like demons, and a constant hum of unseen creatures. "This place is alive," Ethan narrated, his voice half awe, half fear. "It's like the jungle's watching us, waiting for us to screw up." Chloe was already struggling, her pack heavy with medical gear. "This humidity's gonna kill me," she groaned, swatting at a bug. "Why didn't we take the river route?" "Because Maya's got a hard-on for this temple," Liam said, hacking through a vine with his machete. "Right, Maya?" Maya didn't look up from her map. "The river's too obvious. The temple's deep, off the grid. We're on the right track." Ben lagged behind, fiddling with his GPS. "Track? This thing's acting weird. Keeps losing signal. We're only 10 miles in, and it's already crapping out." Ethan swung the camera to Ben. "Tech genius, huh? Maybe the jungle doesn't like your toys." "Shut up, Ethan," Ben snapped, but Sarah caught the way his eyes darted to Maya, like he was trying to impress her. There was tension there, a quiet rivalry between Ben and Ethan. She made a note. Jealousy? Could have caused problems. The video showed their first 3 days, with short updates sent via satellite phone. "Day 1, we're good," Liam's voice crackled. "Jungle's tough, but we're tougher." Day 2, Chloe's freaking out about bugs, but we're on schedule, 12 miles down. Day 3, signal's getting spotty, heading into a low area. Next check-in when we hit higher ground in a couple days. "Don't worry." Sarah leaned closer, her gut twisting. That was the last message anyone got. The footage kept going though, showing the team deeper in the jungle. The air grew heavier, the trees taller, their branches weaving a canopy that choked out the sun. Ethan's narration got quieter, edgier. "It's like the jungle's closing in," he whispered. "You can feel it, something's off." On day 4, the camera caught a fight. Liam and Maya were at each other's throats, standing in a clearing surrounded by vines that looked like they could strangle you. "This route's a mistake," Liam growled, pointing at the map. "We're burning through supplies, and Ben's GPS is useless. We should have stuck to the river." Maya's face was red, her voice sharp. "The river's a dead end, Liam. The temple's in the valley, and this map's the only way to find it. You want to quit? Go ahead. I'm not turning back." Chloe stepped between them, hands up. "Guys, chill. We're all exhausted. Let's just camp and figure it out." Ethan's camera lingered on Maya, who was staring into the jungle, her eyes wide. "You feel that?" she said, almost to herself, like something's watching. Juao, who'd been silent, spoke up, his voice low. "It's the eyes. They're here." Liam laughed, but it was forced. "Enough with the ghost stories, Juao. Let's move." The footage jumped tonight, the team's campfire flickering against a wall of darkness. Ethan panned the camera, catching shadows that seemed to shift just out of sight. Chloe was writing in a journal, her hand shaking. Ben was fiddling with a drone, muttering about signal loss. Maya was sketching the map, her face lit by the fire's glow. Juao sat apart, clutching his pendant, his lips moving in what looked like a prayer. Then it happened. Ethan's camera swung to a tree at the edge of the clearing, where a symbol was carved into the bark, a circle with 2 eyes, crude but unmistakable. Maya gasped, scrambling to her feet. "That's it," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "The Yanomami stories were right. This is a marker for the temple." Juao's eyes widened, and he grabbed her arm. "Don't touch it," he hissed. "That's not a marker. It's a warning." Ethan zoomed in, his voice shaky. "What the hell does that mean, Juao?" "A warning for what?" "The shadow eyes," Juao said, his voice barely a whisper. "They see you. They take you. You don't come back." Chloe dropped her journal, her face pale. "Take us? Like, what? Spirits? You're freaking me out." Liam stood, gripping his machete. "Enough. It's just a carving. Probably some local kids messing around." But Juao shook his head, his pendant glinting in the firelight. "You don't understand. The valley's close. If you go in, you don't come out." The camera shook, Ethan's breathing loud in the mic. "Guys, maybe we should listen to him. This place is giving me the creeps." Maya spun on him, her voice fierce. "We're not quitting now. We're so close. You want to go home, Ethan? Fine. I'm finding that temple." Ben stepped closer to her, his voice soft. "Maya, maybe Juao's got a point. We're out of our depth here." "Out of our depth?" Maya snapped. This is why we came. You're either with me or you're not. The argument cut off abruptly, the footage jumping to static. When it cleared, the team was moving again, deeper into the jungle. Ethan's narration was gone now, replaced by heavy breathing and the crunch of boots. The camera caught glimpses of the team, Liam hacking through vines, Chloe swatting mosquitoes, Ben checking his failing GPS, Maya clutching her map like a lifeline. Joao trailed behind, his eyes scanning the trees like he expected them to attack. Then, in the final moments, the camera stopped on another tree, another carving those same staring eyes, bigger this time, etched deep into the wood. Maya's voice came through, hushed and reverent. This isn't Inca or Maya. It's older. Something nobody's seen before. Joao's voice cut in, sharp and panicked. Don't touch it. You don't know what you're... A scream tore through the audio. Chloe's, raw and terrified. The camera spun, catching a flash of movement in the trees, something too fast to be human. Ethan's voice cracked. What the hell was that? The screen went black. Sarah sat back, her heart hammering. The video was a punch to the gut, proof that the team had walked into something they didn't understand. She scribbled notes. Eyes symbol. Joao's warning. Something in the trees. Her mind raced, connecting the dots to Ethan's scars, his clicks, the map he'd drawn in the hospital. Whatever happened in that valley had left him a shell, and it was tied to those eyes. She called Anna at the hospital, her voice urgent. I watched the footage. They found something out there, carvings, eyes, some kind of warning. Joao knew about it. We need to talk to someone from his village. Anna hesitated. Sarah, the Yanomami don't like outsiders. And Ethan, he's getting worse. Last night, he scratched that eye symbol into his bed frame. The nurses are scared. Sarah's stomach dropped. Scared of what? They say he's not alone, Anna whispered. Like something followed him out of the jungle. Sarah hung up, her hands shaking. She pulled up a satellite image of the Juruá River, zooming in on the valley Ethan's map had pointed to. It was a black spot in the green, a place where even the satellites seemed blind. She knew what she had to do: get a team out there, find that valley, and uncover whatever had stolen 6 years of Ethan's life. But as she stared at the screen, at the endless sea of trees, a cold dread settled in her chest. The jungle was waiting, and it wasn't done with them yet. Part 3. The Jungle Swallows. The Amazon was a green beast, a sprawling monster that didn't care about your plans or your prayers. In the fall of 2017, when the 5 American explorers Liam, Chloe, Ben, Maya, and Ethan stopped sending their satellite phone updates, their families back in the States went from worried to frantic. Sarah Miller, still a rookie journalist back then, was one of the first to cover the story, her articles in a small Seattle paper screaming headlines like, "Lost in the Amazon, where are they?" But the jungle didn't answer. It never did. By day 10 of silence, the families were blowing up the U.S. Embassy's phone lines, demanding action. The Brazilian military got roped in, along with a ragtag crew of international volunteers, some ex-cops, some adventure junkies, all thinking they could conquer the Amazon. Sarah, barely 25 and hungry for a big break, tagged along, notebook in hand, hoping to crack the story. She didn't know then that the jungle would haunt her for 6 years. The search kicked off in Manaus, a sweaty, chaotic city on the edge of the Amazon. The military set up a base camp near the Juruá River, about 15 miles from where the team's last message came through. The air was thick, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity that made your clothes stick like a second skin. Helicopters buzzed overhead, but their pilots came back cursing. Nothing but trees, one said, wiping sweat from his brow. 150 feet of canopy, like a dam wall. You can't see shit from up there. Sarah overheard the guy, a grizzled Brazilian named Miguel, venting to his crew. I've flown over this jungle for 20 years, he said, tossing a cigarette butt into the dirt. Finding 5 people in there? It's like looking for a needle in a haystack the size of Texas. On the ground, it was worse. The search teams hacked through vines with machetes, each step a battle against mud, mosquitoes, and heat that felt like a fist squeezing your lungs. Sarah joined a group, led by a Brazilian sergeant, Carlos, who looked like he'd rather be back in Rio busting drug dealers. "This place is a death trap," he muttered, slicing through a tangle of roots. "Snakes, jaguars, and rivers that'll swallow you whole." Those gringos didn't stand a chance. Sarah scribbled notes, her boots sinking into the muck. "They were prepared," she said, trying to sound confident. "They had gear, a guide, everything. They weren't amateurs." Carlos snorted, wiping his machete. "Prepared? Nobody's prepared for the Amazon. This jungle doesn't care about your fancy GPS or your marine training. It chews you up and spits out your bones." The volunteers, a mix of locals and foreigners, weren't much cheerier. A guy from Texas, Jake, who ditched his job at a car dealership to join the search, was already regretting it. "I gave up football season for this," he grumbled, swatting a mosquito the size of a quarter. "We're wandering in circles, and this damn jungle's laughing at us." They pushed deeper, following the team's last known coordinates. The jungle was a living thing, its branches clawing at their faces, its air heavy with the stench of rot and wet earth. Every soundbird calls, rustling leaves, distant roars felt like a warning. Sarah's notebook filled with details. Day 12, no sign. Day 13, found a broken water bottle, maybe theirs. But hope was fading fast. On day 15, a team stumbled onto the expedition's last campsite, about 15 miles from the final message's origin. It was a gut punch. The tents were still standing, their nylon faded but intact, like the team had just stepped out for a minute. A cold campfire sat in the center, surrounded by scattered gear metal bowls, a toothbrush, a dog-eared copy of some history book Maya loved. Sarah knelt by the fire pit, her fingers brushing ash that felt like a tombstone. "Look at this," Jake called, holding up a single hiking boot, its laces frayed. It was Chloe's, size 7, caked in dried mud. It was lying 100 feet from the camp, like it had been flung in a panic. What the hell happened here? Carlos scanned the clearing, his hand on his pistol. No blood, no claw marks, no signs of a fight. It's like they just vanished. Sarah's stomach churned. She'd expected torn tents, bullet casings, something to explain 5 people disappearing. But this was worse, eerie, wrong, like the jungle had swallowed them whole and left their stuff as a taunt. The team's backpacks, satellite phone, GPS, and most of their food were gone. Only the small stuff remained, abandoned as if the group planned to come right back. "They wouldn't leave this," Sarah said, picking up a notebook with Maya's handwriting sketches of maps, notes about a temple. "They were organized. Liam was a Marine, for God's sake." Carlos shook his head. "Doesn't matter. People get lost, they panic, or something got them." "Something?" Jake said, his voice cracking. "Like what?" "Jaguars don't clean up after themselves." "Not animals," a voice interrupted. It was Tiago, a Yanomami guide who'd been roped into the search. He was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes, and a pendant like Joe's, carved with 2 staring eyes. He'd been quiet until now, sticking to the edges of the group. "The Shadow Valley," he said, his voice low. "That's where they went. My people don't go there. It's where the eyes live." Sarah turned, her pen pausing. "Eyes? You mean those carvings they found?" Tiago's face was grim. "Not just carvings. The shadow eyes are old, older than my people. They watch, they take. If your friends went into that valley, they're gone." Jake laughed, nervous. "Come on, man. That's just spooky campfire shit. You're saying spirits ate them?" Tiago didn't smile. He pulled a piece of bark from his pocket, etched with a crude circle and 2 eyes, just like the ones in Ethan's video. "This was near their camp," he said. "It's a warning. The valley doesn't let you leave." Sarah's skin prickled. She took the bark, her fingers tracing the carving. It was rough, like it had been scratched with a rock, but it matched the symbol from the expedition's footage. "Where'd you find this?" she asked. 100 yards west, Tiago said. "Near the river. There's more marks on trees, circles of stones. They're signs to stay away." Carlos spat into the dirt. "Superstition. Probably just some local kids screwing around." Tiago's eyes narrowed. You don't believe, but the jungle does. Those marks aren't for kids, they're for the dead. The team searched the camp for hours, cataloging every item. They found Liam's knife, half buried in a tree trunk, like he'd swung it in a frenzy. Maya's map was there, folded inside her notebook, with a red circle around a spot labeled Shadow Valley. Chloe's medical kit was open, bandages scattered like someone had rifled through it. Ben's drone was smashed, its pieces strewn across the ground. Ethan's camera was gone, along with his backpack. Sarah knelt by the riverbank, where Tiago had found the bark. The water was dark, sluggish, like it was hiding something. She noticed a faint trail, broken branches, crushed ferns leading deeper into the jungle. They went that way, she said, pointing toward the valley. Carlos shook his head. No way we're following that. It's a death march. Swamps, cliffs, and God knows what else. We have to, Sarah said, her voice hard. That's where the answers are. Tiago grabbed her arm, his grip tight. Listen to me, Jornalista. The Shadow Valley isn't just a place. It's a trap. My grandfather told stories hunters who went in, never came out. The eyes take their names, their souls. You go in, you don't come back. Sarah pulled free, her heart racing. I'm not here for stories. I'm here for the truth. The search dragged on for another month. Helicopters scoured the canopy, but the valley was a blind spot, a black hole in the green. Ground teams combed 50 square miles, battling mud and heat stroke. They found nothing else, no bodies, no gear, no hope. The families back home, Liam's mom in Ohio, Chloe's dad in California, kept calling, begging for news. Sarah wrote article after article, but the words felt hollow. The jungle had won. Then, on day 32, something happened. A team scouting near the valley's edge found a circle of stones, perfectly arranged, with a piece of Chloe's jacket in the center, torn and stained with something dark. Sarah was there when they brought it back to base camp, her hands shaking as she touched the fabric. This wasn't an accident, she whispered. Someone put this here. Carlos frowned, his face pale. Or something. That night, the camp was quiet, the air heavy with defeat. Sarah sat by the fire, staring at the jacket scrap, her mind racing. Tiago approached, his pendant glinting. You want to know what happened, he said. Go to the village, ask the elders, they know the valley's secrets. Sarah nodded, but before she could answer, a sound cut through the night, a sharp, guttural click, like a toucan's call but wrong, twisted. It came from the jungle, maybe 100 yards out. The team froze, hands on weapons. Carlos shone his flashlight, the beam swallowed by the dark. What the hell was that? Jake whispered, his voice shaking. Tiago's face went ashen. The eyes, he said. They're watching. Sarah's heart pounded, her notebook slipping from her hands. She wanted to call it nonsense, but the sound echoed again, closer now, like a signal from something that wasn't human. The team grabbed their guns, forming a tight circle, their beams cutting through the trees. Nothing, just silence, thick and suffocating. The next morning, one of the volunteers, a quiet guy from Florida named Thomas, gone. His tent was empty, his gear untouched. The only trace was a single footprint in the mud, deep and fresh, pointing toward the valley. Sarah stared at it, her blood running cold. The jungle wasn't just hiding the expedition, it was taking people, one by one. She turned to Tiago, her voice barely a whisper. What's out there? Tiago didn't answer. He just clutched his pendant, his eyes fixed on the trees, where the darkness seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Part 4. The Ghost in the Ward. The hospital in Manaus was a concrete box, all flickering lights and peeling paint, the kind of place that felt like it was holding its breath. Sarah Miller paced the hallway outside room 12, her sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. It was 2023, 6 years since the expedition vanished, and Ethan Harper, the only survivor, was lying in a bed 10 feet away, a living ghost who'd stumbled out of the Amazon with no answers, just scars and those eerie clicks. Sarah clutched her notebook, her mind racing with questions. What happened in that jungle? Where were the others? And why did Ethan look like he'd been to hell and back? Inside the room, Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, rocking slightly, his bony hands twitching like they were still gripping something from the forest. His eyes were black holes, staring at nothing, and every few minutes, that sound came a sharp, guttural click, like a toucan's call twisted into something wrong. The nurses avoided him, whispering about the crazy gringo, who wouldn't talk. But Sarah knew better. Ethan wasn't crazy. He was broken, his mind locked behind a wall of trauma, and she was damn sure going to crack it open. Dr. Anna Costa, the intern who'd first recognized Ethan, was checking his chart, her face tight with exhaustion. She'd been up all night, running tests, trying to make sense of the man who'd appeared on that dirt road. "He's a mess," Anna said, not looking up. "Dehydrated, malnourished, joints like an 80-year-old. His blood works Bizzarino processed food, no chemicals, just traces of roots, bugs, and raw meat. It's like he's been living like an animal for 6 years." Sarah leaned against the wall, scribbling notes. "Animal? That's putting it mildly. Look at him. Anna. He's a shell. What about those scars?" Anna flipped a page, her voice low. "Whip marks on his back, old but deep. Rope burns on his wrists and ankles, like he was tied up for a long time. Some of the wounds are fresh, maybe a year old. Whatever happened, it wasn't quick." Sarah's stomach twisted. "Tied up? You're saying someone held him prisoner?" "Maybe," Anna said, glancing at Ethan. "Or something. I've never seen anyone this far gone. He's got severe dissociative amnesia, doesn't know his name, doesn't recognize himself in a mirror. We tried talking to him in English, Portuguese, even Spanish. Nothing. Just those clicks." Sarah looked through the observation window, where Ethan was rocking faster now, his lips moving silently. "Those clicks," she said. "They're not random, are they?" Anna hesitated, then shook her head. "Number. They're rhythmic, like a pattern, almost like he's trying to say something, but it's not a language we know." Maria, the Yanomami nurse, overheard them and crossed her arms, her face tight. "I told you, it's not human," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "My people know those sounds. They're from the Shadow Valley, from the eyes. My grandmother used to say they're the voice of the spirits, calling for the lost." Sarah rolled her eyes, but her skin prickled. "Spirits? Maria? Come on, he's traumatized, not possessed." Maria's eyes narrowed. "You don't believe, but I've heard those clicks before, in stories from my village. The shadow eyes take people, strip them of their souls. That man in there, he's not Ethan anymore. He's what the valley left behind." Anna put a hand on Maria's shoulder. "Let's stick to science, okay? He's got enough problems without ghost stories." But Sarah wasn't so sure. She'd watched Ethan's old footage, seen the carvings of those eyes, heard Joao's warnings. Something in the jungle had done this to him, and it wasn't just starvation or a bad trip. She pulled out her phone and called a contact in New York, a lab tech who owed her a favor. "Hey, Mike, I need you to run some samples," she said, keeping her voice low. "Hair, nails, whatever I send you." "Off the books, got it?" Mike groaned. "Sarah, you're gonna get me fired." "What's this about?" "Just do it," she snapped. "I'll overnight the samples. Look for anything weird, pollen, dirt, anything that can tell us where this guy's been." She hung up, her mind racing. Ethan was the key, but he was a locked door. She needed to find a way in, and fast. The hospital had tried everything: music, photos, even showing him his own reflection. Nothing worked. But Sarah had an idea. She'd found an old email from Maya, sent to a professor in Seattle before the trip. It mentioned the Shrine of the Shadow Eyes, a temple tied to a lost Yanomami cult, one that worshipped a force older than the jungle itself. The email was vague, but one line stuck out: "The eyes see everything. They judge, they punish." Sarah showed the email to Anna, who frowned. "This is nuts. A cult? You think that's what got them?" "I don't know," Sarah said, "but Maya was obsessed with it, and Ethan's drawing those same eyes. It's connected." Anna sighed, rubbing her temples. "Okay, fine, let's try something. Art therapy's worked with trauma patients before. Maybe he'll give us something." They gave Ethan a stack of paper and a piece of charcoal, hoping he'd respond. For days, he ignored it, just rocking and clicking, his eyes fixed on some invisible point. Then, one morning, he grabbed the charcoal and started scribbling, his hands moving like they were possessed. The lines were wild at first, jagged and chaotic, but slowly, they took Shapa River splitting in two, a mountain with a slanted peak, and in the center, a big, shaky X. It was a map, crude and childlike, but unmistakable. "Holy crap," Sarah said, leaning over the paper. "That's a map. He's telling us where he was." Anna nodded, her voice tight. "I'll send it to the analysts. If we can match it to a real place, we might have a shot at finding the others." The map went to a team in Brasilia, who cross-referenced it with satellite images of the Juruá River region. It took 2 days, but they found a Macha remote valley, 50 miles from the last known camp, a place so deep in the Amazon it was practically invisible. The locals called it the Shadow Valley, a name that sent a chill down Sarah's spine. She remembered Tiago's words from the 2017 search, "The valley doesn't let you leave." Maria, who'd been watching Ethan like a hawk, pulled Sarah aside. "You can't go there," she said, her voice trembling. "My people have stories about that valley. The shadow eyes aren't just carvings, they're a curse. Anyone who looks at them loses themselves." Sarah's jaw tightened. "I'm not here for curses, Maria. I'm here for answers." Ethan came out of that valley. The others might still be there. Maria shook her head, clutching a small pendant like Joao's, carved with those same staring eyes. "He didn't come out," she said. "The valley let him go. There's a difference." Sarah ignored her, but the words stuck like a splinter. She spent the next day digging into the expedition's background, pulling strings to access their records. She found something odd, a grant from a shadowy American company, Green Horizon, that funded the trip. The company's website was a dead end, just a generic page about conservation, but the money was real, enough to cover top-tier gear and permits. Why would a nobody startup bankroll a risky jungle trek? Sarah's reporter instincts screamed conspiracy, but she didn't have enough to go on. Not yet. Back at the hospital, Ethan's condition was deteriorating. He stopped eating unless the nurses left the tray and walked away. Then he'd shove the food in his mouth like a starving animal, hiding scraps under his mattress. At night, he'd pace the room, clicking louder, faster, like he was calling to something. The other patients complained, saying the sound gave them nightmares. One nurse quit, swearing she'd seen Ethan's shadow move on its own. Anna tried a new approach, showing Ethan old photos from his family at Christmas in Seattle, a hiking trip in Oregon. He didn't react, just stared through them like they were ghosts. But when she pulled up a still from his own footage, the one with the eye carving on the tree, something snapped. Ethan's breathing hitched, his hands clenched, and he let out a scream, not human, not animal, but something that made the hairs on Sarah's neck stand up. He lunged for the photo, knocking it to the floor, and started scratching at the tiles, his nails leaving faint marks in the shape of those damn eyes. "Whoa, whoa, stop," Anna yelled, grabbing his arms. Ethan froze, his eyes wide, then slumped back, clicking softly, like a machine winding down. Sarah knelt by the scratches, her heart pounding. "He's trying to tell us something," she said. "Those eyes, they're the key." Maria was in the corner, her face pale. "I told you, it's the valley. It's still in him." Sarah stood, her voice sharp. "Enough with the spooky stuff, Maria. We need facts. Ethan's drawing maps, scratching symbols. He's giving us clues." Anna nodded, but her eyes were uneasy. "I'll get the map to the analysts, but Sarah, be careful. Whatever's in that valley, it did this to him. And it might not be done." Sarah spent the night in her hotel, poring over the expedition's files. She found a video Ethan had uploaded to a private cloud before the trip, one the search teams never saw. It was shaky, shot at night, the campfire barely lighting the team's faces. Maya was talking, her voice low and urgent. "The Yanomami stories aren't myths," she said, holding up her map. "The shadow eyes are real, the temple's guarded by something that watches." Joao's voice cut in, sharp. You shouldn't say its name. It hears you. Liam laughed, but it was hollow. Give it a rest, Joao. We're not kids scared of the boogeyman. Ethan's camera shook, his voice nervous. Guys, I don't know. This place feels wrong. Like we're being watched. The video cut to a shot of the jungle, the trees swallowing the firelight. Something moved in the darkest shape, too fast, too big to be a jaguar. Chloe screamed, and the footage went black. Sarah's heart stopped. She rewound, paused on the shape. It was blurry, but it looked human, crouched, with eyes that glinted like mirrors. She felt sick, her mind flashing to Ethan's scratches, his clicks. Whatever was in that valley wasn't just a story. It was real, and it had taken 5 people, leaving only one behind. She called Anna, her voice shaking. I found something in Ethan's footage. A shape, maybe a person. We need to get a team to that valley, now. Anna was quiet for a long moment. Sarah, Ethan's getting worse. Last night, he scratched those eyes into his bed frame, deep enough to draw blood, and he said something, not words, but a name. I think it was Maya. Sarah's blood ran cold. Maya? You're sure? I don't know, Anna said. But he's not just traumatized. He's connected to something. And if you go to that valley, you might find out what. Sarah hung up, staring at Ethan's map on her laptop. The river, the mountain, the XA were calling her, pulling her toward the Shadow Valley. But as she packed her bag, ready to push for a new expedition, a sound echoed in her mind, Ethan's clicks, sharp and relentless, like a warning from the jungle itself. Part 5. Into the Shadow Valley. The Amazon was a beast, a green, breathing monster that swallowed light and sound, leaving only dread in its wake. Sarah Miller stood at the edge of a narrow gorge, the only way into the Shadow Valley, her boots sinking into mud that smelled like rot. It was 2023, 6 years since Ethan Harper and his team vanished, and now a Brazilian Special Forces team was gearing up to follow the map he'd scratched out in a hospital ward. Sarah wasn't supposed to be here. She'd snuck onto the helicopter, hiding her press badge, driven by a gut feeling that the truth was in that valley, waiting like a coiled snake. The team was small but heavy. 8 soldiers, led by Captain Diego Santos, a grizzled veteran with scars that matched his no-bullshit attitude. Dr. Ana Costa, roped in from the hospital to monitor Ethan, who was at a base camp a mile back, and Tiago, a Yanomami guide whose reluctance was written all over his face. His pendant, carved with those eerie staring eyes, glinted in the dim light. Sarah caught his glance, and he shook his head. You shouldn't be here, Jornalista, he said, his voice low. This place doesn't want you. Sarah gripped her notebook, her heart pounding. I'm not here for a vacation, Tiago. Ethan came out of this valley. The others might still be in there. Tiago's eyes darkened. The shadow eyes don't let go. You'll see. Diego barked orders, his voice cutting through the jungle's hum. Move out, single file. Stay sharp. This ain't Rioware in the devil's backyard now. The soldiers, decked in tactical gear, checked their rifles, their faces tight. One of them, a young guy named Lucas, muttered, I fought cartels in Sao Paulo, but this jungle's giving me the creeps. Sarah fell in behind them, her camera slung around her neck. The gorge was tight, walls of rock and vine closing in like a trap. The air was thick, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the humidity choking her lungs. Every step felt like wading through molasses, and the jungle's soundsbird screeches, rustling leaves felt like whispers, watching, waiting. Tiago led the way, his machete slicing through vines, but his movements were tense, like he expected the ground to open up. Keep your eyes peeled, Diego said, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. We're looking for signs, gear, tracks, anything from those gringos. Sarah nodded, her mind flashing to Ethan's map, the split river, the slanted mountain, the X marking something unknown. She'd seen the footage, heard Joao's warnings, felt the weight of Maria's stories. This valley wasn't just a playsate, was a predator, and they were walking into its jaws. 2 hours in, they hit the river, its water dark and sluggish, splitting in two just like Ethan's drawing. Tiago stopped, his hand on his pendant. "This is it," he said. "The valley starts here. We're close." Lucas snorted, adjusting his rifle. "Close to what? A bunch of trees and bugs. Let's find this temple and get out." Tiago's voice was cold. "You don't find the shadow eyes, they find you." Sarah's skin prickled. She noticed marks on the tree-screwed scratches, circles with eyes, like the ones in Ethan's footage. "Look," she whispered, pointing. "They're the same. The expedition was here." Diego crouched, examining the marks. Old, but deliberate. Someone wanted to be seen or warn others off. They pushed deeper, the jungle growing denser, the canopy blocking out the sky. The air felt heavy, oppressive, like it was pressing down on their chests. Sarah's camera clicked, capturing the marks, the river, the way the trees seemed to lean in, watching. Then Lucas froze, his hand up. "What the hell is that?" A trap vine's tied to sharpened bamboo stakes, hidden in the undergrowth. Lucas had nearly stepped into it, the stakes glinting with something dark, like poison. Diego swore under his breath. "Careful, people, this valley's rigged." Tiago's face was grim. "Not Yanomami work. These are older, from the ones who served the eyes." Sarah's heart raced. "The ones? You mean the cult Maya was chasing?" Tiago didn't answer, just kept moving, his machete hacking faster. They found more trap spits lined with spikes, ropes rigged to drop rocks. Each one was crude but deadly, like the jungle itself was fighting back. Sarah's notebook filled with sketches. Traps, eye symbols, no animal tracks. The valley was alive, and it didn't want them here. 3 hours later, they reached a clearing, and Sarah's breath caught. It was a village abandoned, but not empty. Huts made of branches, clay, and what looked like bones and hair stood in a rough circle. A cold fire pit sat in the center, surrounded by rusted metal bowls, a torn backpack, and a single bent spoon. Sarah recognized it instantly. It matched the gear from Ethan's footage. "Holy shit," Lucas said, kicking a bowl. "This is their stuff. They were here." Diego's voice was tight. "Spread out. Check every hut. Don't touch anything weird." The team fanned out, their flashlights slicing through the gloom. Sarah followed Lucas into a hut, her camera shaking. Inside, they found a plastic food container lid, exactly like the ones the expedition carried. Another hut had a piece of blue nylon, patched into a leaky roof. A third had a notebook, its pages brittle, filled with Maya's handwriting sketches of the eye symbol, notes about a shrine that watches. Sarah's hands trembled as she flipped through it. "Maya knew something," she said. "She was onto this place." Lucas nodded, but his eyes were on the doorway, like he expected something to rush in. "This place is wrong, Sarah. It's too quiet. No birds, no bugs. Like the jungle's holding its breath." Tiago appeared, his face pale. "We need to move. The X on the map, it's not here. It's deeper, by the cliff." Diego checked Ethan's map, his jaw tight. "All right, let's go. Stay close." They followed the river, the air growing heavier, the silence suffocating. Sarah noticed Tiago muttering under his breath, clutching his pendant. "What's that?" she asked, keeping her voice low. "A prayer," he said. "To keep the eyes away." She wanted to roll her eyes, but the weight of the valley stopped her. Every step felt like a violation, like they were trespassing on something ancient and angry. The trees seemed to shift, their branches curling like fingers. Sarah's camera caught it a shadow moving in the distance, too quick to be human. She froze, her heart pounding. "Did you see that?" Diego spun, his rifle up. "See what?" "Something moved," she said, pointing. "Out there, in the trees." Lucas laughed, but it was shaky. "Probably a monkey." "Don't lose it, journalista." Tiago's voice was a whisper. "Not a monkey. The eyes are watching." They reached the cliff, a sheer wall of rock covered in vines, just like Ethan's map. At its base were 4 small mounds, each marked with river stones. Sarah's stomach dropped. "Graves," she said, her voice barely audible. Diego gave the order to dig, his face grim. "Careful. We need to know who they are." The soldiers worked in silence, their shovels biting into the soft earth. The first mound revealed bones human, brittle, wrapped in scraps of clothing. A brass compass lay beside them, engraved with Liam's initials. Sarah's throat tightened. "That's Liam," she whispered. "He always carried that." The second mound held a silver medallion, shaped like a crescent moon Maya's, a gift from her dad. The third had a stethoscope, twisted and rusted Chloe's. The fourth had a broken smartwatch, its screen cracked bins. All four were here, their bodies reduced to skeletons, their deaths slow and cruel. Anna, who joined them at the cliff, knelt by the remains, her face pale. "No bullet holes, no fractures," she said, her voice shaking. "They died of starvation, scurvy, disease. It wasn't quick. They suffered for years." Sarah's hand shook as she took photos. Years? How? They had food, gear. Someone kept them here. Tiago pointed to the cliff, where faint scratches marked the Stonemore eye symbols, leading to a curtain of vines. "There," he said. "That's where the X is." Diego signaled the team, and they pushed through the vines, revealing a narrow cave mouth, dark and damp, the air thick with the smell of smoke and decay. The soldiers switched on their rifle lights, beams cutting through the blackness. Sarah's camera whirred, her pulse racing. The cave was shallow, but lived in a pile of skins and leaves for a bed, walls scratched with eye symbols, and in the corner, a figure. He was old, withered, his skin like leather, his hair and beard a tangled gray mess. He wore animal skins, his eyes glinting with animal curiosity as he stared at the lights. He didn't move, didn't speak, just clicked, a soft, guttural sound, exactly like Ethan's. "Holy shit," Lucas whispered, his rifle trembling. "Who the hell is that?" Diego stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Identify yourself, now." The old man just clicked again, his head tilting like a predator sizing up prey. Sarah's heart stopped. She'd seen that look in Ethan's eyes, that emptiness. "He's like Ethan," she said. "He's been here too long." Tiago's voice was a hiss. "He's not Yanomami. He's something else." The eyes made him. Sarah's camera caught a glint in the dark pile of gear, the expedition's gear. Backpacks, a smashed satellite phone, Ethan's camera, its lens cracked. And then she saw it. A stone altar, carved with a massive pair of eyes, their pupils deep and black, like they were staring right through her. The air around it felt wrong, heavy, like it was pulling her in. "Don't touch it," Tiago snapped, grabbing her arm. "That's the shrine, the shadow eyes. It's alive." Lucas laughed, but it was forced. "Alive? It's a rock, man. Chill." "And from Lise." Diego's beam swept the altar, and Sarah saw something else, a roll of film, old and brittle, tucked into a crack. She grabbed it, her hand shaking. "This is Ethan's," she said. "He was filming everything." Before anyone could stop her, she stuffed it in her pocket. The old man watched, his clicks growing faster, louder. Diego shouted, "Hands up now," but the old man didn't listen. He lunged, moving faster than any old man should, his hands clawing at Lucas. A knife flash adjusted, jagged, and Lucas screamed, blood spraying from his neck as he collapsed. "Get back," Diego roared, firing a warning shot. The old man froze, his eyes wild, then retreated into the shadows, his clicks echoing like a taunt. The team scrambled to Lucas, but he was gone, his blood pooling on the cave floor. Sarah's heart pounded, her camera shaking. "He's not alone," she whispered, staring at the altar. "That thing, it's controlling him." Tiago's voice was a tremor. "I told you, the shadow eyes don't let go." Diego grabbed her arm, his face hard. "We're getting out now. Grab the film and move." Sarah nodded, but as they backed out of the cave, the altar's eyes seemed to follow her, their gaze burning into her soul. She clutched the film, knowing it held the truth or part of it. But the valley wasn't done with them. Not yet. Part 6. The Truth and the Cost. The cave in the Shadow Valley was a tomb, its air thick with the stench of decay and something older, something that clung to your skin like a curse. Sarah Miller stood frozen, her camera trembling in her hands, the roll of Ethan Harper's film clutched tight against her chest. The old mantha withered, clicking creature who'd attacked Lucas was gone, vanished into the shadows after his knife sliced through the soldier's neck. Blood pooled on the cave floor, reflecting the flickering beams of the Special Forces rifles. Captain Diego Santos barked orders, his voice sharp as a blade. Fall back. Secure the perimeter. Now. Sarah's heart pounded like a jackhammer. The stone altar loomed behind her, its carved eyes staring, unblinking, like they could see straight through her soul. Tiago, the Yanomami guide, was muttering prayers, his pendant clutched so tight his knuckles were white. We shouldn't be here, he whispered, his voice shaking. The shadow eyes, they see everything. Shut it, Tiago, Diego snapped, dragging Lucas's body toward the cave mouth. We're getting out, and we're taking this bastard with us, dead or alive. Sarah's eyes flicked to the altar, its presence heavy, alive, like it was breathing. She wanted to run, to scream, but the film in her pocket felt like a lifeline, a clue to what had happened to Ethan and his team. We can't leave yet, she said, her voice hoarse. That film, it's Ethan's. It's got answers. Diego spun on her, his face twisted with fury. Answers? Lucas is dead, Journalista. You want to join him? Move. Tiago grabbed her arm, his eyes wide with terror. She's right, but not for your reasons. That altar, it's not just stone, it's the heart of the valley. It's what took them. Sarah yanked free, her pulse racing. Took who? The expedition. Tell me what you know, Tiago. He hesitated, then spoke, his voice low. My people, the Yanomami, we have stories. Long ago, a cult lived here, older than our tribes, older than the forest. They worship the Shadow Eyes, a force that guards the jungle. They built that altar to trap souls, to keep the forest's secrets. Anyone who finds it, they don't leave. Not whole. Sarah's skin crawled, but she shoved the fear down. Stories don't kill people. That old man did. Who is he? Tiago's voice dropped to a whisper. He's one of them, a servant of the eyes. He's been here too long. Diego cut in, his rifle trained on the shadows. Enough ghost talk, we're clearing out. Grab the gear and let's go. Sarah nodded, but as they backed out of the cave, she couldn't shake the feeling that the altar was watching, its eyes boring into her back. The team stumbled into the clearing, the abandoned village of bone and vine looming around them. The graves, Liam, Chloe, Ben, Maya lay silent under their river stones, a grim reminder of the cost. Sarah's camera clicked, capturing the scene, but her mind was on the film. She needed to know what Ethan had seen. Back at the base camp, a mile from the valley, Ethan was under guard, his condition worse than ever. Dr. Anna Costa was there, her face pale as she checked his vitals. He was rocking faster now, clicking relentlessly, his eyes fixed on some invisible point. He's not eating, Anna said, her voice tight. He hides food, like he's afraid it'll be taken, and last night, he scratched those eyes into his arm deep enough to bleed. Sarah's stomach churned. He's still connected to that place, she said, holding up the film. This is from his camera. We need to develop it. Diego, still shaken from Lucas's death, glared at her. You're pushing it, Miller. We lost a man in there. You want to keep poking this hornet's nest? I want the truth, Sarah said, her voice hard. For Ethan, for the others. You saw that altar. You felt it. Something's wrong with this valley, and that film might tell us what. They sent the film to a lab in Manaus, and within 2 days, the footage was ready. Sarah, Anna, Diego, and Tiago gathered in a cramped office, the air thick with tension. The video was grainy, damaged by years in the jungle, but it was Ethan's, shot in the final days of the expedition. The footage opened in the clearing, the team's faces gaunt, their eyes hollow. Maya was at the altar, her hands trembling as she traced the carved eyes. This is it, she said, her voice feverish. The shrine of the Shadow Eyes. It's older than anything pre-Inca, pre-Yanomami. It's alive. Liam's voice cut in, sharp. Alive? Maya, you're losing it. We're out of food, Ben's GPS is dead, and Joao's acting weird. We need to get out, now. Joao was in the background, clutching his pendant, his face pale. We shouldn't have come, he whispered. The eyes, they see us. Chloe was crying, her medical kit open, bandages scattered. I can't fix this, she said. We're sick, all of us. Scurvy, infections, we're dying out here. Ben grabbed the camera, his voice desperate. Ethan, stop filming. We need to move. The footage jumped, showing the team being dragged through the jungle, their hands bound with vines. The old man was there, his eyes wild, clicking like a predator. He wasn't alone. Shadows moved in the trees, human but wrong, their movements too fast, too silent. Maya screamed, fighting against her ropes. The altar, she yelled. It's controlling them. We have to destroy it. The film cut to static, then cleared for one final shot. Maya adage. Sarah stopped the video, her hands shaking. She tried to destroy it, she whispered. She knew it was evil. Diego's jaw tightened. Evil? It's a damn rock. Tiago's voice was low. It's more than that. The Yanomami know. The altar binds souls. It bound him. He pointed to the tent where Ethan was. Ana's face was pale. Bound him? You mean Ethan? Tiago nodded. He carries the eyes. That's why he clicks, why he's empty. The valley didn't let him go, it sent him. Sarah's blood ran cold. She thought of Ethan's scratches, his clicks, the way he'd screamed Maya's name. Sent him? For what? To warn us, Tiago said. Or to lure us back. The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Sarah's mind raced, connecting dots. The expedition's funding Green Horizon, a shadowy American company. She dug into their records, found whispers of a search for a relic in the Amazon, something tied to ancient power. The altar, was it what they wanted? And Ethan, was he their bait? We need to know who that old man is, Sarah said, her voice firm. He's the key. Diego sent a team to interrogate the old man, who'd been restrained and airlifted to Manaus. The results came back fast, and they were chilling. He was Dr. Raul Mendez, a Brazilian archaeologist missing since 1975, last seen exploring the Jurua region. His journals, found in archives, obsessed over a shrine of eternal eyes, a relic of a lost cult that could control the mind. He'd gone into the valley and never came out, not as himself. He found the altar, Sarah said, her voice shaking. It drove him mad, turned him into that. Anna nodded, her face grim. Ethan lived with him for 6 years. Fed on roots, meat, taught to click like a beast. The others, they weren't strong enough. They died, one by one, buried by that monster. Tiago's voice was a whisper. Not a monster, a servant. The shadow eyes chose him, like they chose Ethan. Sarah's heart stopped. Chose him? You're saying the altar? What, possessed them? Tiago clutched his pendant. The Yanomami say the eyes take your soul, make you their voice. Ethan escaped, but he's still theirs. Diego scoffed. This is bullshit. We'll blow that altar to hell and be done with it. No, Tiago said, his voice sharp. You destroy it, you anger the forest. More will die. Sarah's mind raced. Green Horizon's funding, Raul's obsession, Ethan's clicks, it all pointed to the altar. She pulled out her phone, checking encrypted emails she'd hacked from the company. One mentioned a power source in the valley, something they'd paid the expedition to find. They weren't just explorers, she said. Green Horizon sent them to find that altar. They wanted its power. Ana's eyes widened. Power? Like what? I don't know, Sarah said. But they're still looking. I got an email last night, anonymous, warning me to stop digging. Someone's covering this up. Diego's radio crackled, and a voice came through, panicked. Captain, it's Harper. He's gone. Sarah's blood ran cold. Gone? What do you mean? Gone? They raced to Ethan's tent. It was empty, the cot overturned, the floor scratched with a fresh eye symbol, and a single word, Maya. Sarah's knees buckled. He's going back, she whispered. To the valley. Tiago's face was ashen. The eyes called him, they're not done. Diego grabbed his rifle. We're going after him. Nobody else dies in that damn valley. Sarah stopped him. Wait, if we go in blind, we're dead. We need to know what that altar is. Aina nodded, pulling up Raoul's journal on her tablet. He wrote about a relic stone that hums, controls minds. He thought it was alien or divine. He went mad trying to harness it. Sarah's mind reeled. Green Horizon they wanted. That's why they funded the trip. Ethan was their pawn. Tiago's voice was grim. And now he's their messenger. The eyes sent him to bring more. They searched the base camp, but Ethan was gone. No tracks, no trace. Sarah's phone buzzed an email. No sender, just a photo. Ethan, standing in the jungle, eyes white, beside the altar. The caption read, "It sees you." Sarah dropped the phone, her voice a whisper. Jesus Christ, it's not over. Expert analysis and lessons. Dr. Laura Bennett, a trauma psychologist from Boston, reviewed Ethan's case. His dissociative amnesia is extreme, a defense against unimaginable horror. The Shadow Valley didn't just break his body, it erased his identity. The clicks, the drawings, they're fragments of a mind trying to rebuild itself, but something else is in control. That valley is a psychological crucible, forging madness. Dr. Kweku Almeida, a Yanomami anthropologist, added, "The Shadow Eyes are more than myth. The Yanomami believe the forest has guardians forces that punish intruders. The altar is a focal point, a trap for the greedy. Respect the jungle, or it claims you." Lessons learned. The Amazon is no playground. Unprepared explorers risk not just their lives, but their very humanity. The Yanomami's warnings aren't superstition, they're survival. Never underestimate a place that's older and crueler than you. Sarah sat in her New York apartment, weeks later, staring at her laptop. The expedition was closed, Raoul locked in an asylum, his mind gone. But Ethan's disappearance gnawed at her. She opened the email again, the photo of Ethan by the altar, his eyes white as death. A new message blinked in her inbox. No sender. The eyes are still watching. She slammed the laptop shut, her hands shaking. The valley wasn't done. It never would be.